So in this video, I wanted to demonstrate how to generate an overlay using the Hangtime app. And I'm using a Pixel 4, but I've hooked up an external mouse here to give me a pointer, hopefully to make it a little bit easier to follow what I'm doing. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open your ride. And this ride, I have a recording with a GoPro. Once you open the ride, you'll see a button up at the top, and this button takes you to the screen where you can configure the overlay. And once you get to the screen, you can open your video. I've got an unedited GoPro video here. It takes just a second to copy. This is a security feature of Android and iOS where the file has to get copied from the external storage into the app sandbox storage. Once the file copies over, you'll see the preview here in the top frame, and you can see we've already got the overlay data on top. It's not out of sync at this point, and that's really the purpose of this whole screen, is to align the timing of the video with the timing of the telemetry data. So even if you start your app recording and your video at the exact same time, they're probably not going to be down to a millisecond or two like they need to be for the overlay. And in this case, in my recording here, I actually started my ride at the beginning of the trail. So I started my app recording at the beginning of the trail, but I didn't start the video recording until I got to the top, and then I just recorded the first half of the downhill. So the first thing I want to do is get those roughly within alignment. And so again, the video is probably 20 minutes or more out of alignment with the telemetry data. And so I can start by, you can see my position, my telemetry data shows me way down here at the start of the trail. But again, I know I started recording way up here at the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is slide this telemetry slider until you can watch my position dot move here all the way up to the top of the mountain. And at this point, I'm somewhere close to where I started. I actually rested up there for a little while, so there's a little rest period up there. And then the next thing I can do, so at this point I'm maybe within a minute or two of alignment. And then the next thing I want to do is start moving my app's video forward until I see movement in the app or the video itself. So you can see I've started off with this tree here beside me, and then once I finally start moving, you'll see the tree start to disappear. So it looks like I've started moving forward at this point. So right here, I'm somewhere close to the start of my movement. Again, movement isn't the best way to align the video very accurately, but it starts to get me a little bit closer. So at this point, my video just started moving, but you can see my telemetry data has me at 18 miles an hour. I'm definitely not up to 18 miles an hour at this point, so I need to move my telemetry data back. So I'll start clicking the back buttons here until my telemetry data shows me slowly increasing. So there I am at 1.4 miles an hour. I'll continue moving it forward a little bit, 5.3. And at this point, who knows? Maybe I'm about 4 miles an hour, but it's kind of hard to tell. But I'm probably pretty close at this point. So I can continue moving forward on my video, and you can see it's pretty believable. Maybe I'm up to 14 miles an hour at this point. So to get a little bit closer with my alignment, I can align on this upcoming turn. So I've got a turn up here on the map. You can see it's a big left-hand bermed turn. So I'm going to start moving forward on the video, and you can see my dot on the map starts moving forward towards that turn. So I'll just start moving forward on the video until I get up to that turn, and I can keep an eye on my telemetry data here to see when I enter that turn. Both I can look at the lean or the horizontal acceleration force. So I continue moving forward, and I'm getting pretty close to the turn on the map, and you should start seeing the turn show up here in the video, but you can see it looks like I've already entered the turn on the telemetry data, so the telemetry data is still too far ahead compared to the video. But I'll continue moving forward. Yeah, I'm hard into the turn there, but you can still see the turn in the video is off in the distance. So I need to bring that telemetry data back. So I continue moving forward here until I'm into the middle of the turn. And so now the video is directly in the middle of the turn, but I know the telemetry data is ahead. So I'll start pulling that back here until I'm somewhere close. So now it looks like I'm close to the middle of the turn in the telemetry data, and I can continue moving forward on the video. And as I exit the turn, you can see the telemetry data starts, my lean angle starts moving back up to vertical. So I'm pretty close at this point. I'm probably within a second or two of alignment. So to really get accurate with the alignment, you have to have something like a jump, and you can get very close with the jumps. And so there's a jump coming up here on the trail. You can see this is the lip of the jump. It's just a small jump in the middle of the trail. And what you want to do here is move forward until, if you can see your front tire, you'd put your front tire right on the edge of the jump. And what you're aligning with here is your horizontal acceleration. So, as you approach a jump and move past a jump, you'll feel the maximum acceleration right before you leave that jump. And so we want to move our telemetry data so that it is showing maximum upward acceleration right as we leave this jump, which seems to be right about here. So if I move backwards, it goes down. If I move forward, it goes up. If I move again forward, looks like it maybe went up a little bit. But if I continue moving forward, it starts going down. So this is the maximum right here, and you can see it's right as I leave the jump. And then as soon as I get off the ground, gravity starts pulling me back down, and you can see the acceleration force starts to drop, and it should peak out at right about minus 1g as I feel the full force of gravity. And I continue moving forward, and then I should hit the ground here in a second. You can actually see my helmet right there at the bottom of the screen. I hit the ground, and now I no longer feel that full force of gravity, and my acceleration moves back to 0 there. So at this point, I'm probably within a second of alignment. It's pretty close. And so I can continue moving down the trail. You can see there's a right-hand turn coming up. So let's just check that out and make sure it still looks good there. I come into this right-hand turn. It actually starts with a little bit of a left turn, and so I'm leaning pretty hard to the left. But then as I progress through the turn, I come back to vertical here, and then enter the right-hand portion of the turn. So everything still looks good here. At this point, I'm in alignment. One other trick you can use if your video has a timestamp. My GoPro does, but it's very inaccurate. It was pretty disappointing. I just got a new GoPro a few days ago, and the timestamps on the video are very inaccurate. I tried their experimental firmware that allows you to align the time supposedly more accurately, but it doesn't work very well. You can see if I use the timestamp, my video right now is at 26. You can see our alignment is plus 26 minutes and 3 seconds, and I could start this back off at 0 as if we just opened the video, and then if I use my timestamp, you can see now it's still off by a number of seconds, so I would have to go back and realign that. Once you've got your video aligned like we did, you could click the save button here, and it's going to output the video. On Android, it's going to save it to your movies folder, and on iPhone, it's going to save it to your gallery. But there's a couple of settings you might want to play with at some point. So I've got a warning here that changing these settings can significantly increase the encoding time with very little quality benefit. And so I would encourage you to try these defaults first. They're pretty good in terms of their quality, and they run pretty fast. So the first setting here is the overlay frame rate. So everything on the overlay refreshes at whatever you set here. In this case, it's 20 frames per second. The higher the frame rate, the better the perceived quality, but it's also going to take a lot longer to render. The overlay resolution is the resolution of the overlay itself. So again, the higher you drag this up, the better the perceived quality is going to be, but it's also going to take longer to encode. The 540 is a pretty good resolution for the overlay. It looks pretty decent. but you can adjust that as you see fit. The output resolution is the actual output resolution of the overall video, whether it's 1080 or full 4K or whatever. And again, the higher this is, the longer it's going to take. The encoder can have a big impact on the encoding time. If you use the 264 encoder, it's going to go a lot faster, about 10 times faster, but it's also going to be about twice as big of a file size as if you used the 265 encoder. So it's probably a better idea to stick with the 264 encoder unless you really are looking for a smaller file size. The preset, again, this is something that will help compress the video down. Ultra fast is going to be the fastest in terms of the encoding time, but it's also going to result in the largest file size. This really has no impact on quality. It's just, or minimal impact on quality. It's just, it has more to do with the file size and the encoding time. This is another quality setting that you can adjust as you see fit, but it's going to impact the quality or the file size depending on which way you slide it. So these settings, again, can have dramatic impacts. Test out with the defaults first. The other thing that impacts the encoding time, obviously, is the size or the length of the file that it's going to be encoding. So all things being equal, a 10-minute recording is going to take half as long as a 20-minute file. Again, once you've got all these settings correct and you've aligned your telemetry data, you click the save button and you're going to start encoding your video. If you have any questions about the video here, leave me a message in the comments and I'll try and get back to you.